Hello, hello, hi. Hope you're well, hope you're swell, hope you're lazy, hope you're, hope you're doing amazing, hope you're doing fantastic, hope you're doing great, very nice, you're thriving. You know, sometimes I'll be like on the internet just looking at different things. Maybe some event happens and people are talking about it. It can be whatever, it can be some movie being released, some game being released, some like viral clip or news, whatever. And you watch people's responses to these things, and it makes you realize that a lot of people, they love to parrot, they love to just repeat. Like, critical thinking is at an all-time low. I think people have always been this way, though. I think many people just tend to just go with whatever is being said. I guess it's kind of like a thing of like, you don't necessarily have to do the work of figuring things out yourself, and it can feel like a safer bet to just like go with the crowd, I guess. So how do I need this thing to stand? Interesting. Yeah, it might be a safer bet to just go with the crowd on a lot of issues. And you start to notice the patterns. A lot of people, how you can investigate if that's how they really feel about whatever, or if they're just repeating what they heard elsewhere. So there's two kind of crowds here, but there's two types of people in this crowd. There are the people that they'll just repeat what they heard someone else say without much thinking about it on their own. And then there are the people who will take like a contrarian stance on an issue. So they'll say the opposite of what they heard someone say, so that they can seem like they're thinking for themselves, to give off the appearance of independent thought. Look at me, I have these very nuanced opinions. I'm so much more in the know than these commoners, than these plebs. Because look at this position, literally the opposite of what everyone else is saying. And literally, so the second group, a lot of the time, the only reason you are taking that stance is because someone else took the opposite stance. You didn't do research. You didn't really look into it. You just decided before you got into it that that's what you were going to do, so that you could seem intellectually superior. And people don't always, it doesn't always like pan out the way in your brain. It's not always a conscious thought that that's what you're doing, but that's what a lot of people are doing. And how you know that that's what people are doing, whether they're just following people and repeating what they've been told, or they're taking contrarian responses purely for the sake of spiting someone else or trying to make themselves seem smarter than they actually are. How you know that they're doing that? Ask questions. So let's say that there is a music artist that someone really likes, allegedly really likes. Why do you like that artist? If all the answers they're giving is just how anti-mainstream they are, and all these sort of things, and all the answers are related to just how they're not pop, they're not mainstream, that's how you know that this person doesn't really like this artist. Because a normal person, right, if you ask them, why do you like this artist, you're going to give very personal answers. It's not going to have anything to do with mainstream this, mainstream that, yada, yada, yada. It's literally just going to be like, well, this particular song, I really love the production, and this particular album. Like they're just going to talk about the music and what the music means. A lot of these people, you can try it. It works every time. Ask them and then see the response. A lot of them, they're going to talk about the artist's position in relation to someone else who might be much bigger and all these sort of things, and the industry and mainstream artists. You know, for me, I can respect someone who listens. So let's say there's a girl who listens to Taylor Swift and whoever else like is like a popular female artist, like just all this girly pop music, right? I can respect someone who listens to that if that's what they genuinely like, and it genuinely makes them happy. I have much more respect for that individual than someone who listens to alt rock and all these underground artists and they're just really trying their best to look edgy and cool and in the know. These people are so dorky and annoying because they think they know it all. And they love to police people's taste, but you don't really have taste though. You don't really have a music taste. You just have a bunch of unvalidated opinions that literally are only composed of this contrarian impulse to go against what everyone else is going for. But that's literally what your opinion is. My opinion is not that opinion, you know? It's just a reflexive response. It's not much of an opinion, is it? Because if I ask you to break it down, why do you like that? Why into it? Or why do you believe this? If everything is all about, oh, this person said this, or this person or that, I mean, this person. Leave me alone. It's crazy, man. I think people should take time with whatever it is to figure out how you feel about something. Look, we're all guilty of it to some extent. I think because we're social animals, we tend to take our cues from other people in many regards. And it's normal, but it's also important to be an independent thinker. Because if everyone is walking off a cliff, you don't want to follow them off the cliff, dude. That's why it's important to be able to think for yourself. So you balance valuing the opinions of others and, you know, learning from other people, because we can learn a lot from other people. Sometimes people can introduce you to great things, or they can inform you of very important information. All that is great, all that is essential. It's important to marry that with the ability to really sit down and assess how you feel about something, whether it's a piece of news, whether it's art, whether it's anything. You wanna give stuff time, and you wanna be able to equip yourselves with the intellectual tools that allow you to come to your own conclusions. Very important. So important, guys. I've seen it time and time again. People just give the most surface level takes on things, but when you really investigate, you start to see that there's nothing there. There's nothing deep beneath the surface of their thinking. It's literally just crowd response. Like no one really sat down to think about it. Because when you really sit down to think about things, it influences how you feel about things. When you really start to think and do research and not just go over what someone else is saying. You know, I remember talking to this girl, and we're talking about music, and she kept referencing these YouTube reviewers who are popular YouTube music critics, I guess, Anthony Fantano and Sean C and so on and so forth. I'm like, do you have any of your own opinions? Or is your whole listening history just based on what they told you to listen to? Because why should I take them seriously? They don't have any authority over my life and what I decide to listen to and all these sort of things. So, you know, I think the best way for if we're using music as an example to develop your own taste is literally to just listen to stuff even the stuff that's quote unquote mainstream. And that's another thing that's so annoying people do. If something is really popular, people have this impulse to not support it because it's so popular, so they'll just go for the most underground artist. Well, obviously, you know what's funny? We recognize that popularity is a metric of reliability. So you won't go for someone with 2 listeners on Spotify. That's too low. You want something that's low compared to the biggest artists out there, but high enough to signal that this person is successful. So everyone implicitly acknowledges that, quote unquote, numbers matter, that statistical success is important. Otherwise, you go for the artist that has literally no listeners. And people don't do that. It's almost embarrassing to do that. People get joy from plugging you to an artist that has a decent enough following, but they're still small enough to be considered underground or indie or whatever, For example, you got someone who's a major artist, 100 million, 300 million. I think Taylor Swift and maybe artists like The Weeknd might be at 100 million monthly listeners on Spotify. Versus someone who has 1 million or less, maybe a couple 100,000 monthly listeners on Spotify. That person is seen as the real artist, as the purest and the most talented and untainted by corporate interests, all these other things, right? But in reality, they're both artists, and whether you like the music or not, it's really dependent on your own personal research, listening to the music and deciding what appeals to you. That's it. And if you like one or you like the other, it's fine. But what matters is that you did your own research and you didn't make your decision based on anything else other than I listened to it and I liked it or I didn't like it. That's all that matters. The issue is that if people decide beforehand that they're not gonna like something, chances are they're not gonna like it because you're not listening with an open mind. You know, that's how that works. If you're not listening with an open mind, if you're not willing to be impressed, if you're not willing to give someone a chance, then there's not much they can do to convince you because your ears are closed. And people underestimate how much listening to stuff, taking in different opinions, going into different experiences with an open mind really influences your experience. If someone is like, there's this, let's say like I'm going out with a friend and we usually go to the same spot. We like going to the same park to hang out or whatever, right? And then one day my friend is like, you know what, there's this other spot I want to check out that I went to on my own once and it's so good and I think we're gonna have fun. And I'm like, oh my gosh, but I'm used to this, like I just want to keep going here. Everyone else goes there. That place is so crowded. And this is our good spot. And no one else knows about it. Let's just stay there because it makes me feel cool to be here. And the thing that please just come with I promise you, and I'm not gonna like it, but okay, let's go. I'm going there with the mindset of I'm not gonna like it. I'm not gonna like it. I'm not gonna like it. Now, every now and then, something can genuinely take you by surprise, and you're just forced to admit that this was nice. However, most times, even if I am low-key enjoying myself, I'm not gonna admit it. I'm gonna have like a worse experience than what I would have had if I'd been open-minded and just allowed myself to enjoy it. Sometimes you can't allow yourself to enjoy something. That park could be more beautiful, it could have more amenities, it could be more convenient, it could have a whole lot of things going for it. But if I'm being closed-minded, I can end up not enjoying it and finding faults where there aren't any, or over-exaggerating certain faults. You know what I'm saying? Like, and just ruining the experience, not just for myself, but the people I'm with. So it just goes to show how walking into a situation with bias and preconceived notions, it taints that experience. So people need to learn to just be more open-minded when it comes to certain things. When you're like hearing news, you know, like there's always some crazy news story popping up here and there, whatever the case may be. There's always debates online about current affairs, global affairs, whatever the case may be. It's just like being able to hear people out, listen to both sides of an issue, and resist the urge to just, like get your opinions from like some crowd on social media, whether it's TikTok, whether it's X, whether it's your favorite YouTuber, but even just taking time to form your own opinion. You're getting information from multiple sources and you're just hearing like people out. Dare I say, you might even like read a book or something. Oh my gosh. I know that's outlandish these days, reading a book on an issue. You don't even have to read books now that we have AI. These assistants like ChatGPT and Grok are so good at distilling information so that you don't have to go through all that anymore. You can like literally just get summarized points of a book that you're interested in, or like you can have conversations with these AI chatbots and really flesh out your thinking on a topic, and you can debate with it and all these sort of things. So you can train your mind to think critically. There's so many tools at your disposal in the modern era that allow you to develop your critical thinking. It's funny because people say it's because of technology that people are becoming less capable of thinking critically. But I say the gadgets and the tools themselves are not the issue. I think human beings are the issue. Like, these are great tools that we have at our disposal. In the right hands, they'll be amazing. But unfortunately, we're like toddlers, we're like little babies. We're so childish and incapable of using these beautiful tools to our ultimate advantage. It seems, I don't want to say we're incapable of it, because we are doing that to an extent, but we're holding ourselves back with this childish behavior a lot of the time. But I really do believe that these tools have so much potential to unleash our potential. It's just about how you're using it. It really is. The internet, AI, all these sort of things, it's just about how you use them. So if you use them right, there's some people who use the internet to doom scroll, and then there's some people who use the internet to learn and make connections and find joy and all these sort of things, and start businesses. Like, the internet is what you make it out to be. It's not really a matter of life. It's just this bad thing. So, I'd say all that to say, like, there's so much there for you that will allow you to equip yourself mentally, intellectually. There's no reason to just accept someone's opinions wholesale and just run with it because they're your favorite TikToker, they're your favorite streamer, whatever the case may be. Therefore, I'm gonna just echo everything they're saying. It's like, take time to really ask yourself questions. How do I feel about this? I knew this girl, she was like, Portugal is so overrated. She's from Portugal. Well, part of her family is from Portugal. So she's like, Portugal is so overrated. Yeah. I don't know if she thinks that makes her sound like well-traveled and like super knowledgeable about different countries and stuff. I was like, do you know how you will want to go to Portugal and drop everything you're doing to take a trip to Portugal? I don't think Portugal is overrated. I think Portugal is probably a very nice place, and I can appreciate that you've been there a bunch of times, but it's important to have perspective and zoom out and say, I'm from there, I'm used to it, but I can understand why someone else would want to come here. And a lot of people go to Portugal for the first time and they're like, this place is beautiful. I'm sure like your experience depends on where in Portugal you go and all this sort of thing. But listen, man, if someone offers me a ticket to go to Portugal, I'm gonna say no. Am I a loser? No. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna have a great time. Very likely. I went to Prague, Czech Republic. That's the only overseas country I've been to thus far. I had a great time, man. It was fun. It was cool. I live in South Africa, and there's so much beauty here. There's so much to do as a tourist. There's things I haven't done that I want to do, for sure. There's this tour you can go on called the Garden Route, where you go from the Western Cape to, I believe, parts of the Eastern Cape, and you just see the most beautiful places the country has to offer. You start off at the coast and you get to see whales and penguins and stuff, and then you just go through quite a long stretch of the country and get to see like wildlife and very cool towns and all sorts of beautiful sights. And you're doing this as part of a group too, so you get to make memories with strangers. And it was fun. I'd love to experience that. It's one of the most recommended traveling experiences in South Africa. So I think this country has a lot to offer in terms of beauty, in terms of experiences, in terms of fun. And on the little that I've seen, I haven't traveled that much in this country. I've been here and there. It's a beautiful country. These are my experiences, these are my opinion. I'm not going to say like South Africa is overrated or that's it's just such an odd response to have. Just based on what? Like you haven't even gone anywhere, bro. But I feel like sometimes people will say things like that, but it's not based on any like real kind of experience. Like homegirl who said Portugal is overrated. I'm sure she's been to Portugal, but like how much of Portugal have you actually seen? You have family there, but like you're from South Africa. Like, you've been there like a handful of times. How well do you know that country? So I'm not gonna take her word for it. I'm gonna go see it for myself. And I have another friend, her boyfriend went to Portugal. He's been to Portugal twice. He loves it. Says it was great. So you just have to be mindful of these things, guys. Like, and no one is completely infallible, right? I think all of us to some extent fall into groupthink. All of us to some extent can like give off-baked or like silly opinions on things. I think it's just about in general how you respond, in general how you think. In general, I like to think I'm an independent thinker. There are certainly several areas in my life where I can identify like I didn't really think about that when I said that, did I? I just went with the crowd on that one. I've definitely had moments where I've noticed that, like that was purely just me being a sheep. I'll be honest, it happens. That's the best of us. But there's some people that's literally the whole way they think. That's a lot of people. I'd argue that's most people actually. I think most people are sheep, for sure. I don't know. I like to have faith in people, but at the same time, I just see the way people react to things. I'm just like, And there have been certain things that have gone on globally, and if you watch how people respond, you're like, it just reveals the truth about humanity. So I don't know. Because when you meet people on an individual basis, you see the individual, right? And you're like, okay, this is a person who is interesting and has a lot to offer. But there's just something about people when they become a part of a group and when something happens where you are given the choice of thinking for yourself or doing what everyone else is saying and doing, that thing takes over. And people just start going in the same direction. Like I said, we're all susceptible to it to some degree, but some people that's literally their whole thing. That's their pattern of existence. I'll just do what everyone else is doing. Whether it's like the clothes you're wearing, the car you want to drive, the places you want to vacation, this, that, and the third, everything is just based on what everyone else is doing, whether it's you following it or whether it's you taking the exact opposite stance instead of just sitting down and being like, what are my options? How do I really feel? So I don't want to be overly cynical about that. I do think there are a lot of great independent thinkers out there. And I do think everyone has the capacity to be that. And when you really get to know a person, you see the beauty in them. You see, I believe everyone's unique. I just think people squander that uniqueness. They squander that rareness, that rarity, by constantly following the crowd. I do think that everyone has that beautiful substance within them that only they have. It's just about making the most of it, you know. The world can really benefit from your input, but it has to be genuine. We would all benefit from it if you were just being for real with us. But anyway, y'all let me know what you think in the comments. Y'all let me know what you think in the comments. You know, I like to pray at the end of my video. So thank you for your Thank you for making them whole, unique, and God. I'm going to point towards peace, prosperity, and purpose. Thank you for blessing this person with a life full of them, take care of them, and bring them to the best out of them. And thank you for teaching the ones that they do good and everything. Thank you for blessing this person with love and marriage, and sustain the love and marriage, and make him very happy. Thank you for blessing this person with prosperity, marriage, and love, thanks for all the wonderful things in life. Make him thanks and give him peace, contentment, and attract even more blessings. Let your presence be felt in this person's life, so know your God, that you really feel love them. And yours be there for the good of my life and everything. So this person will make you my mind and pray, Jesus, and pray. Amen, amen, amen.